After that, Ken awakens and suddenly starts screaming, anxiously warning Jin-Huk that it's dangerous, likely from a nightmare. Vulcan notices that Ken seems disoriented, so he inquires if he's okay. Ken then asks about Jin-Huk and the fox. Vulcan reassures him that both are fine, but his tone shifts as he glimpses something concerning. Ken queries him about this just as a piercing scream echoes through the room. The scream emanates from Jin-Huk, who writhes in agony while devouring the fur stone. Miho trembles and watches him with concern. The nine-tailed fox becomes furious, warning Jin-Huk not to display such behaviors in front of her offspring. Jin-Huk employs his skill, gluttony, kneeling amidst the flames and, after a few moments, successfully consumes the stone. The system then notifies him that he has gained burn resistance. Holding a vial of poison, Jin-Huk declares that it's now time to acquire poison resistance. Moments later, the spirit soldiers are observed gathering the lifeless orcs into a substantial pile. Jin-Huk then complains that his stomach hurts, prompting Vulcan to question why he's subjecting himself to such pain. Jin-Huk asks him to clarify, stating that he needs all of it. Frustrated, Vulcan remarks that Jin-Huk's resilience in drinking all that poison makes him quite tenacious. Jin-Huk explains that he had previously informed Vulcan about the combat techniques of the Nine Star, necessitating his preparation by acquiring resistance to various elements. Meanwhile, numerous notifications appear behind Jin-Huk, revealing his newfound resistances to all poisons, burn resistance, and freeze resistance. Jin-Huk emphasizes the importance of poison resistance as one of the Nine Star members specializes in poisons, and had he been aware of their tricks, he wouldn't have met such a gruesome fate. Suddenly, a spirit soldier arrives, and Vulcan asks if these are all the orcs in the vicinity. The spirit soldier nods in agreement. Gazing at Miho, Jin-Huk mentions that she has waited long enough and it's her turn to eat. Vulcan suggests removing the liver and feeding it to her, to which Jin-Huk agrees, noting that Miho is still a baby when considering her as a human. However, Miho takes everyone by surprise when she suddenly reveals menacing, razor-sharp carnivorous teeth and begins devouring the deceased orcs. Jin-Huk and Vulcan are left in shock. Once Miho finishes her gruesome feast, a notification indicates her progress in Part 2 of the quest, showing that she's consumed 127 raw livers out of 999. Jin-Huk expresses a desire to create a wave, but he hesitates due to the city's size, not wanting to draw too much attention. He then inquires about who Vulcan was fighting the previous night. Vulcan, somewhat surprised, asks if Jin-Huk is aware of it. Jin-Huk explains that he sensed fluctuations in Vulcan's manner, leading him to ask about the encounter. He wonders if Vulcan had met one of the four royalties. Vulcan admits that he encountered a powerful dragon and used his spirit power to immobilize it. Suddenly, Jin-Huk begins to emanate a menacing dark purple aura and exclaims, "One of the four royalties is here." Nervous, Vulcan urges him to calm down, cautioning against emitting such demonic energy in the middle of the street. Jin-Huk notices a drop of blood and wonders if it's a side effect of his gluttony skill. Vulcan reiterates the need to calm down and informs Jin-Huk that the dragon he encountered was no ordinary one. Jin-Huk queries what Vulcan means by that, and Vulcan proceeds to recount the entire story. Jin-Huk, deep in thought, puts his finger to his chin and mentions the dragon slayer Hendrik. Vulcan adds that what the dragon told him does make sense. Jin-Huk ponders the idea of one's body and soul acting independently. Vulcan points out that he initially had doubts but witnessed an example in Jin-Huk himself. Jin-Huk exclaims, "Hendrik the Dragon Slayer," and notes that even he knows that name. He explains that Hendrik began his journey by slaying young dragons and eventually took on other dragons that came after him, earning him the title of Dragon Slayer. Jin-Huk had heard that Hendrik met his end on the 700th or 800th floor. Vulcan suggests that Jin-Huk might be walking into a trap set by the four royalties. With a smirk, Jin-Huk expresses his intention to meet Hendrik, but he suddenly starts coughing. Vulcan reprimands him for going overboard, explaining that his gluttony trait is broken and there's a penalty for consuming things. After ingesting the poison, fire, and frost stones, it's imperative for Jin-Huk to swiftly seek treatment for the internal injuries they've inflicted. Jin-Huk questions treatment by a priest. "Are you out of your mind?" he inquires of Vulcan, asking if he's willing to undergo purification via divine power, along with the aid of spirit soldiers. Vulcan, in response, queries what Jin-Huk intends to do, and insinuates that continuing without treatment might result in dire consequences, even jesting about the possibility of Jin-Huk bleeding uncontrollably. Jin-Huk realizes that obtaining divine power might be the most prudent course of action. Vulcan dismisses this idea as ludicrous. Suddenly, Jin-Huk notices Miho growling at someone nearby and asks her what's causing the sudden agitation. He wonders why she's behaving in such an unusual manner, then attempts to silence her when he experiences discomfort in his ear. Abruptly, Vulcan addresses Jin-Huk, expressing concern about the peculiar behavior of the people around them who seem to be moving mindlessly, unresponsive to Miho's howls. Jin-Huk admits he's uncertain about the reason, but observes the people walking in an eerie synchrony. Unexpectedly, a golden circle materializes above Jin-Huk and Vulcan, causing their eyes to widen. They turn around to find a woman with a halo above her head approaching them. She greets them with, "Nice to meet you, Ghostface." Jin-Huk is taken aback and inwardly exclaims, "An angel!" Without wasting a moment, Jin-Huk returns the greeting while preparing to strike, but in the blink of an eye, the angel stands in front of him, sword in hand, warning him not to take actions actions he'll regret. Shocked, Jin-Huk acknowledges her swiftness with a smirk. The angel offers her greetings once more, saying, "Nice to meet you, Ghostface." As Jin-Huk attempts to move his sword, he can't help but acknowledge the angel's incredible strength. She firmly holds his sword, and his efforts to wrest it from her grasp prove futile. The angel proceeds to inform him that his mouth is in a terrible state, and his throat, stomach, and intestines are all seriously damaged. Feeling her touch, he questions her actions. Suddenly, the angel begins to emit a radiant glow as she steps back. Vulcan inquires about Jin-Huk's well-being. Inwardly, Jin-Huk notes that his previously damaged body now feels completely healed. He gazes at the angel and recognizes this extraordinary power as divine power. The angel then inquires if Jin-Huk can accept that she's not his enemy after what she has done. Introducing herself as Uriel, she reveals her affiliation with Wingless. A few moments later, a commotion is heard, and the NPCs regain consciousness, bewildered about their recent actions. The scene transitions to the Gold Lich Hotel. Within the hotel, the maids find themselves in a dazed state, contemplating whether they'd overexerted themselves lately. Unbeknownst to them, Jin-Huk watches from the shadows. In the hotel room, Jin-Huk confronts the angel, questioning her intentions. She openly admits to having subtly adjusted the memories of the NPCs, a precaution taken to protect the local citizens. Rushing rumors of her presence and causing an influx of angels heading to the 10th floor would have been detrimental. Jin-Huk privately muses that her methods might be excessive but not entirely reckless. Memory alteration, huh? Not a bad idea, he remarks. Concerned that she might use this on him, Jin-Huk seeks reassurance. She explains that it is impossible to manipulate the memories of individuals with a strong sense of self like himself. Uriel then brings up Miho and Vulcan, prompting Vulcan to acknowledge her ability to perceive him. Jin-Huk questions why she sought him out, and she enigmatically speaks of the one who wears the mask, condensing grotesqueness and defying the heavens. She prophesies that despite their weaknesses, Jin-Huk and his followers will ultimately succeed. Speculating that her visit is related to a prophecy within Wingless, Jin-Huk inquires if it is a divine revelation. Her response is, it's similar. Inwardly, Jin-Huk surmises that the one who wears the mask condenses grotesqueness likely refers to him. He then asks about the group Wingless, since it is his first encounter with them. Suddenly, Uriel removes her coat, revealing her back and the absence of wings, a shocking sight. She explains the dire state of the angels, driven to madness by greed. Those who defied them were branded as sinners and cast out, subjected to the punishment of having their wings a symbol of angels torn away. In short, they were angels no more. Uriel reveals that Wingless is a collective of angels like herself, all once part of Utopia, the city of angels. According to the prophecy, Jin-Huk would disrupt the reign of the four royalties, and Wingless sought to join forces in this endeavor. Jin-Huk lets out a sigh and begins telepathically conversing with Vulcan, seeking his guidance. Vulcan inquires what he means because he doesn't believe Uriel is lying, advising Jin-Huk to simply say yes. So Jin-Huk asks Uriel about the assistance Wingless could provide. To his astonishment, she responds with nothing, leaving him taken aback. She explains that although the power of Wingless is immense, it has marked them as enemies in Utopia's eyes, resulting in close surveillance and support, coupled with angelic hostility. Inwardly, Jin-Huk muses, a stalemate, huh? He recognizes the dilemma of declining an army of former angels as a waste, while accepting it poses a significant risk. Nonetheless, he conveys his willingness to bear that risk and asks if Uriel would assist if he needed to employ Wingless's power. With a resolute expression, she replies, gladly. Jin-Huk expresses his satisfaction, stating that their alliance is now confirmed. Uriel, still addressing him as Ghostface, bows in gratitude. Jin-Huk considers introducing himself and inquires if she could momentarily blind both God and the devil. She confirms she can and uses a feather from her wings to seal the room, isolating them from the outside world. Jin-Huk recognizes that her power shares a principle with Gold Lich's abilities and questions whether those bastards could hear them. She assures him they couldn't, even if he cursed at them. Jin-Huk removes his mask and hurls curses at Baal, referring to him as a voyeuristic sick bastard, and demanding if he is listening. Uriel is visibly shocked by his words. When Baal doesn't respond, Jin-Huk acknowledges the legitimacy of Uriel's power. He explains that he needs this private space due to their shared predicament, and asks if using a false name and a mask is unnecessary. He introduces himself as Cha-Jin-Huk, the same Death Star from 10 years ago. Uriel is flabbergasted and repeats his name, falling to her knees in worry. She apologizes for her incompetence, and Jin-Huk inquires if she knew the chaotic Jin-Huk who had died a decade ago. Uriel reveals that she had been present when Jin-Huk's death was discussed 10 years ago. This revelation causes Jin-Huk's mood to shift to one of anger.